in the comments. Now, let's dive into today's story. Daniel Conway stood at the floor-to-ceiling windows of the Grand Meridian Hotel's ballroom, watching the city lights flicker below while nursing his second scotch. The annual Trans-Global Logistics Gala bustled behind him, a sea of designer dresses and tailored suits that probably cost more than what his employees made in a month. He ran his logistics division with precision and care, ensuring his 200 employees across 3 states had good benefits and fair wages, even if it meant smaller bonuses for himself. "Daniel, darling, you're not networking." Natalie's voice carried that familiar edge of disapproval. She appeared at his side in a red Valentino dress that had caused their first real argument in months. $4,000 for a single evening's wear had seemed excessive, but she'd insisted it was an investment in their future. "I've been talking with the Milwaukee team about implementing the new automated tracking system." Daniel turned to face his wife, noting how her carefully styled blonde hair caught the chandelier light. After 16 years of marriage, she was still stunning, but lately, her beauty felt like a carefully constructed facade. "Nobody wants to hear about work systems at a party," Natalie sighed, her green eyes already scanning the room. They stopped, brightening, and Daniel knew before turning what or rather who had caught her attention. Richard Whitaker commanded the center of the room like a conductor before his orchestra. The new CEO's Harvard MBA and family connections had fast-tracked him to the top position 6 months ago, and he hadn't stopped reminding everyone since. "Richard was just telling us about his new yacht," Natalie gushed, already moving toward the crowd. 45 feet, custom-built in Monaco. "Come join us, darling. You might learn something." Daniel watched his wife slide effortlessly into the circle around Richard, who immediately made space for her at his side. At 45, Whitaker embodied what magazines called silver fox charm, salt and pepper hair, tennis club tan, and the kind of confidence that came from never having faced real consequences. "Your wife's quite something, Conway." Marcus Wheeler appeared beside him, clapping his shoulder with forced joviality. Daniel's friend since college had changed since taking over the East Coast operations, becoming more politician than logistics expert. "She's really embraced the executive social circle." "She has," Daniel replied neutrally, watching Richard lean close to whisper something in Natalie's ear that made her laugh too loudly. "How's Sarah?" "Busy with the kids' college applications." Marcus shifted uncomfortably. "Listen, Dan, maybe you should join them. Richard's been asking about your division's performance." Daniel took another sip of scotch. "My quarterly reports speak for themselves. We're up 12% in efficiency and 8% in profit margins. Numbers aren't everything in this business anymore," Marcus said carefully. "Richard has a vision for modernizing. Through outsourcing and cutting corners," Daniel cut in. "I've read his proposals. They'll gut our quality control and overwork our people." The conversation around Richard suddenly erupted in laughter. Daniel caught fragments about someone's new summer house in the Hamptons, then Natalie's voice rising above the others. "Oh, Richard, you simply must show us pictures of the yacht's master suite." Later that night, after a silent drive home in separate cars, Natalie had insisted on staying just a bit longer to discuss some charity event with Richard's circle. Daniel sat in his home office reviewing quarterly projections. The shared family iPad chirped with a message notification. He usually ignored Natalie's devices, but something intuition or fate made him glance at the screen. The message preview showed Richard's name and the words, "Missing you already, beautiful. Can't wait for." Daniel's hand was steady as he picked up the iPad. Natalie had forgotten to log out of her messages again, a careless mistake that seemed less like forgetfulness now. He scrolled through months of conversations, each message driving another nail into 16 years of marriage. "The beach house is free this weekend. Marcus won't be using it. That dress today. You're torturing me in meetings. Daniel's so boring at these events. You deserve someone who can match your sophistication." The front door opened and closed. High heels clicked on hardwood. Daniel didn't turn when Natalie appeared in the office doorway. "You're still up?" Her voice held artificial lightness. "It's past midnight." "How long?" Daniel kept his voice level, turning the iPad screen toward her. Natalie stiffened for just a moment, then her shoulders relaxed. A small, cruel smile played at the corners of her mouth. "Does it matter?" "Months." Since Richard took over, with Marcus's help, using his beach house, Daniel stood slowly. Were you ever going to tell me? Eventually, Natalie stepped into the office, her expensive perfume filling the space. Once everything was arranged, Richard's lawyer is excellent, and with his connections, she shrugged elegantly. You must have known this was coming. You're just a small-time manager, Daniel. Regional operations? Please. Richard is everything you're not: ambitious, sophisticated, connected. He knows what real success looks like. Real success, Daniel repeated softly. Like buying your way to the top with daddy's money and an overpriced MBA? Don't be bitter, darling. It's unattractive. Natalie examined her manicure. I've already spoken with the girls. They understand completely. The casual mention of their daughters hit harder than anything else. You involved our children in this? They're 16, not babies. Emily and Lucy know what's best for them. Natalie's smile widened. Richard's already looking into summer programs in Switzerland for them. The kind of opportunities you could never provide. Daniel sat back down at his desk, his voice deadly calm. Get out of my office, Natalie. We'll discuss this with lawyers present. Gladly. Natalie turned to leave, then paused. Oh, and Daniel? Richard's lawyer will be in touch about the house. We'll need you to move out by the end of the month. The girls shouldn't have to deal with awkwardness. The betrayal spread through Daniel's life like poison, revealing rot in relationships he'd thought solid. Marcus Wheeler, his friend of 20 years, avoided his calls for a week before finally agreeing to meet at their usual bar. I should have told you, Marcus admitted, not meeting Daniel's eyes. But Richard, he's the future of the company, Dan. Sarah and I have the kids' college to think about, and his plans for restructuring. Save it. Daniel's voice could have frozen hell. 20 years of friendship, and you helped him screw my wife. Was lending them your beach house part of your promotion package? Marcus flinched. It wasn't like that. Natalie said you two were already having problem. We weren't. Daniel stood, dropping cash on the bar. But we sure as hell have them now. Goodbye, Marcus. Good luck with the restructuring. His sister Catherine was next. They met at her favorite CF, where she'd insisted on buying him coffee to talk things through. Catherine had always been the family mediator, the reasonable one, but today her reasonable tone felt like sandpaper on raw skin. You have to understand, Danny, she began, stirring her latte. Natalie was feeling trapped. Richard opened her eyes to a whole different world: country clubs, charity galas, real society. I just helped her navigate it a bit, showed her and the girls around. While she was cheating on your brother, Daniel's coffee sat untouched. How long have you been playing tour guide, Kath? Catherine had the grace to look uncomfortable. The girls loved it. You should see them at the club, Danny. They've made such wonderful connections. Daniel cut her off. That's what we're calling it now? Tell me, does your husband know you helped destroy your brother's marriage for country club access? That's not fair. Catherine protested. I was thinking of the girls' futures. Emily and Lucy deserve to learn that betrayal is acceptable if the price is right. Daniel stood. You're their aunt, Catherine. You were supposed to protect them, not help corrupt them. The final blow came during what was supposed to be a family dinner with the twins. Daniel had made their favorites, Emily's chicken parmesan and Lucy's fettuccine alfredo, hoping food might bridge the growing chasm between them. Instead, Lucy spent the first 20 minutes texting under the table, occasionally showing Emily something that made them both giggle. When Daniel asked about school, Lucy finally looked up, her expression a perfect mirror of Natalie's earlier cruelty. Actually, Dad, we need to talk about that. Lucy set her phone down with deliberate care. Uncle Richard the first mean. Richard says we should probably switch to Lancaster Prep. All his friends' kids go there, and it's much more prestigious than Westfield. Uncle Richard, Daniel repeated quietly. Since when do you call him that? Since he started acting more like a father than you ever did. Lucy shot back. He actually cares about our futures. He's taking us to Paris for spring break. Did you know that? While you're stuck here obsessing over your boring logistics job. Lucy. Emily spoke for the first time, her voice uncertain. She'd always been the more sensitive twin, more attuned to others' feelings. No, Em. He needs to hear this. Lucy leaned forward, her 16-year-old face hard with practiced disdain. We want to live with Mom and Richard. We shouldn't waste time with losers like you. Richard said. Richard says a lot of things. Daniel's voice could have cut diamond. Tell me, Lucy, did your mother and Uncle Richard explain exactly how their relationship started? About the months of lying, using Marcus's beach house for their meetings? Mom said you'd try to turn us against them. Lucy stood up, her chair scraping back. Come on, Emily. Richard's driver is waiting outside anyway. We're done here. Emily hesitated, looking between her sister and father. For a moment, something like regret flickered across her face. Then Lucy grabbed her arm, and the moment passed. Sorry, Dad, she muttered. Following her sister out, Daniel sat alone at the dinner table, looking at the untouched food. Somewhere in the house, a clock ticked away seconds that felt like funeral bells. The law offices of Chung and Associates occupied the entire 42nd floor of a downtown high-rise. Floor-to-ceiling windows offered panoramic views of the city, but Daniel wasn't here for the scenery. He sat across from Teresa Chung, Natalie's shark of a lawyer, while his own attorney shifted uncomfortably beside him. Let's be realistic, Mr. Conway. Cheng's smile never reached her eyes. Your wife has endured years of emotional neglect while you focused on your career. Meanwhile, she dedicated herself to raising your daughters and maintaining your social standing. The courts will take that into consideration. Emotional neglect? Daniel's lawyer, James Foster, sputtered. Mrs. Conway engaged in a months-long affair. Allegedly, Chung cut in smoothly. And even if true, one could argue it was driven by Mr. Conway's persistent absence and inability to meet his wife's emotional needs. The children's testimony will support this. You're putting my daughters on the stand? Daniel's voice was dangerously quiet. Emily and Lucy are old enough to speak to the court about their experiences. Chung shuffled some papers. They have very clear memories of missed recitals, abbreviated family vacations, endless work calls. Because I was supporting their private school tuition and their mother's designer wardrobe, Daniel replied evenly. Tell me, Ms. Cheng, will you also be presenting evidence of how that affair began? The text messages? Marcus Wheeler's beach house receipts. Cheng's smile tightened fractionally. Mr. Conway, let's be civilized. Your wife is prepared to be generous. You can keep your retirement accounts, and we won't seek alimony if you agree to surrender the house and primary custody. Generous? Daniel leaned forward. She cheats on me, turns my children against me, and you call that generous? Daniel, Foster warned quietly. The girls have already expressed their preference to live with their mother, Chung continued. Given their age, the court will likely honor that. Fighting this will only drain your resources and traumatize your children further. Sign the agreement, Mr. Conway. Walk away with some dignity. The courtroom was worse. Natalie sat beside Richard, both perfectly groomed and coordinated in expensive suits. She'd even coached the twins on their appearance. Emily and Lucy wore matching blue dresses that made them look younger, more vulnerable. Lucy's testimony came first, delivered with practiced precision. Dad was never really there for us, she declared, eyes wide with rehearsed sadness. He missed my ballet recital for a business meeting. When Mom and Richard started spending time together, it was different. Richard really listens. He makes time for family. Emily followed, less polished but equally damaging. Dad's always been distant, she said, not quite meeting his eyes. More interested in his work than us. Richard helps us with college planning, introduces us to people who matter. The judge's ruling felt like a formality. Daniel lost the house he'd spent 15 years paying for, primary custody of his daughters, and most of their joint savings after Natalie's lawyer argued successfully about maintaining the children's standard of living. Only Glenn Wynn from the logistics technology department showed any loyalty, helping Daniel find a small apartment and quietly sharing internal reports about Richard's management decisions. He's gutting quality control, Glenn reported over beers in a dive bar far from their usual haunts. Outsourcing everything he can, cutting corners on safety protocols. The board's eating it up because short-term profits are up, but it's going to implode eventually. Eventually doesn't help me now, Daniel replied, staring into his glass. No, Glenn agreed. But knowledge is power, my friend. And I've got copies of every bad decision he's making. Just keep them somewhere safe. You never know when having friends in the right places might matter. Daniel nodded slowly, thinking of his automated logistics system plans, still saved on his personal laptop. You're right, Glenn. You never know. The empty apartment echoed with each keystroke as Daniel worked late into the night. 3 months after the divorce, he'd transformed the spare bedroom into a makeshift office, with whiteboards covering the walls and a dual-monitor setup on a simple IKEA desk. His laptop displayed complex flowcharts of the logistics management system he'd conceptualized years ago but never had time to develop. Another internal report from Glenn landed in his encrypted email, more evidence of Richard's systematic dismantling of Transglobal's quality controls. Each document painted a picture of impending disaster. Safety protocols ignored, experienced staff replaced with cheaper alternatives, maintenance schedules stretched beyond industry standards. Patient zero of corporate cancer, Daniel muttered, adding the new data to his growing archive. A notification popped up, another Instagram post from Lucy, tagged at Richard's Hamptons estate. The photo showed his daughters in designer swimwear on a yacht, champagne glasses raised. The caption read, "Living our best life with Dad 2.0. Hashtag blessed, hashtag luxury life." Daniel's jaw tightened. 16-year-olds drinking champagne on a yacht with their mother's affair partner, it perfectly encapsulated everything wrong with Richard's world. He closed the tab without commenting. They'd learn about consequences soon enough. His phone buzzed with a text from Catherine. "Danny, please. The girls miss you. Richard's taking them to Monaco next week." Delete. Block. His sister had chosen her side, trading family loyalty for country club access. The apartment's ancient coffee maker chose that moment to die with a final, protesting gurgle. Daniel grabbed his laptop bag and jacket, heading for the 24-hour coffee shop 3 blocks away. The night air felt clean, washing away hours of screen glare and code. The collision happened just outside the coffee shop's door. Lost in thoughts about system architecture, Daniel didn't notice the woman juggling her laptop bag and coffee until it was too late. Her coffee splashed across his laptop bag, and research papers scattered across the sidewalk. "I'm so sorry." She dropped to her knees, gathering papers. "I was reviewing research notes while walking. Terrible habit." As Daniel helped collect the papers, he noticed complex behavioral flowcharts and psychological analysis of corporate structures. One diagram particularly caught his eye. It perfectly mapped the dysfunction he'd witnessed at Transglobal. "These are fascinating," he said, studying a chart. "Corporate hierarchy impact studies? This pattern here, it's exactly what I saw happen when our new CEO took over." "Yes." She looked up, revealing intelligent eyes behind simple frames. "I'm Dr. Olivia Blake, Industrial Psychology at State University. I'm researching how corporate structures influence human behavior and efficiency." She tilted her head, studying him. "You understand these models?" Daniel Conway, former regional operations manager at Transglobal Logistics. He handed her the papers. "Your research on hierarchical resistance to innovation, it matches patterns I've seen throughout my career. Most systems fail because they ignore human factors." Inside the coffee shop, under fluorescent lights that made midnight feel like noon, Daniel found himself explaining his vision for Logitech. Olivia asked sharp, insightful questions that forced him to refine concepts he'd thought were finished. "The fundamental flaw in most logistics software," she said, sketching rapidly on a napkin, "is assuming human beings operate like machines. They don't. People resist change not because they're stubborn, but because most systems ignore basic psychological needs for autonomy and competence." "Exactly." Daniel pulled out his laptop, showing her his preliminary designs. "Traditional logistics software treats workers like cogs. I want to build something that adapts to how people actually work." "This is brilliant," Olivia said, studying his flowcharts. "But you'll need someone who understands both the psychology and the technical requirements." She paused, considering. "Actually, I know someone perfect for this. Melissa Newman. She's a brilliant software engineer who left Silicon Valley because she was tired of creating apps that ignored human factors." She's been consulting on my research. 2 days later, they met Melissa at a small cafe near the university. At 40, she carried herself with the confident focus of someone who knew exactly how good she was at her job. She reviewed Daniel's code with brutal efficiency. Silicon Valley's dead, she declared, making rapid notes. They're all chasing the next social media unicorn while ignoring real business needs. This, though, she tapped his laptop screen. This could revolutionize logistics. But you'll need help with the architecture. I can pay, Daniel began. Not interested in salary, Melissa cut him off. I want equity. 20%, plus control over technical architecture. Dr. Blake consults on user psychology, you handle the business side, and I'll build you a system that makes TransGlobal look like they're using stone tablets and chisels. Deal, Daniel said. When can you start? Melissa was already typing. Your basic architecture is solid, but the data flow needs optimization. Give me a week. I'll have a prototype that'll make your ex-wife's new CEO boyfriend look like the overpaid hack he is. About that, Olivia interjected carefully. I've been reviewing TransGlobal's public filings. Their efficiency metrics are dropping significantly. If we move quickly, we could capture their market share while they're vulnerable, Daniel finished. He opened his laptop, showing them Glenn's latest reports. Their new CEO's cutting corners everywhere. Safety protocols, maintenance schedules, quality controls all sacrificed for short-term profits. Classic narcissistic leadership pattern, Olivia observed. Immediate gratification over long-term stability. Your system's emphasis on adaptive efficiency could appeal to their frustrated clients. Melissa was already coding. Give me 2 months. We'll build something that makes their system look prehistoric. Over the next 2 years, Daniel's apartment transformed into Logitech's unofficial headquarters. The spare bedroom became a proper office, with Melissa's workstation beside his. Olivia's research papers and psychology models covered one wall, while code diagrams filled another. Their routine fell into a comfortable pattern. Mornings began with coffee and market analysis. Afternoons were for coding and testing. Evenings stretched into night as they refined their system, fueled by takeout and determination. The traditional logistics model is hierarchical, Olivia explained one evening, sketching on their newly installed whiteboard. But human beings naturally form networks. Your system needs to reflect that. Melissa typed furiously at her station. We can build adaptive pathways. The software learns each user's patterns and adjusts accordingly. Their dinner discussions evolved into weekend strategy sessions. Olivia brought an understanding of human behavior that transformed their technical solutions into user-friendly tools. Unlike Natalie's superficial interests, Olivia challenged Daniel intellectually, her insights forcing him to reconsider basic assumptions about business and technology. Glenn continued feeding them information about TransGlobal's declining service quality. His latest report detailed a major security breach in their outsourced IT system, exactly the kind of vulnerability Logitech was designed to prevent. Their first break came through Glenn's connection to Regional Retail Solutions, a mid-sized chain frustrated with TransGlobal's performance. Sarah Chun, RRS's operations director, agreed to meet them after another failed delivery nearly cost them a major contract. Their delivery times are worse than ever, Sarah complained during their presentation. Richard Whitaker keeps talking about modernization, but nothing improves. Last week, they lost an entire shipment of perishable goods because their tracking system failed. Daniel laid out Logitech's prototype. It will reduce your logistics costs by 40% in 3 months, or the trial period is free. Our system adapts to your existing workflows instead of forcing your people to change how they work. 40%? Sarah looked skeptical. TransGlobal promised 20 and delivered nothing. TransGlobal is running on outdated systems and corner cutting, Daniel replied. We built Logitech from scratch, specifically for companies like yours. Give us 3 months. If we fail, you lose nothing. 2 months later, RRS's logistics costs had dropped by 35%. By month 3, they'd exceeded their promised 40% reduction. More importantly, their employee satisfaction scores had improved dramatically. This is revolutionary, Sarah told him, signing the full contract. How did you achieve this? Daniel thought of endless nights of coding, of Melissa's technical brilliance and Olivia's psychological insights. By understanding that technology should serve people, not the other way around, the success brought other clients. Each implementation proved smoother than the last as they refined their system. Daniel hired carefully, building a team that shared their vision of excellence without compromise. Olivia's role evolved beyond consulting. She joined their coffee runs and late-night strategy sessions, her presence bringing warmth to discussions that might otherwise have drowned in technical details. Unlike Natalie's demands for attention, Olivia offered quiet support and brilliant insights in equal measure. One evening, after a particularly successful client meeting, Melissa cornered Daniel in the office kitchen. "You know she's not going to wait forever, right?" "Who?" Daniel focused on making coffee. "Don't play dumb. Olivia. I see how you look at her when you think no one's watching." Melissa leaned against the counter. "Look, I get it. Your ex-wife did a number on you. But Olivia's different. She sees you for who you are, not what you can give her." "We're colleagues," Daniel replied automatically. "Right." Melissa rolled her eyes. "Because all colleagues spend every weekend together reviewing data. Just don't wait too long. Good things shouldn't be taken for granted." 5 years after the divorce, Logitech Solutions had become the industry's rising star. Their client list included major retailers and manufacturing firms, many poached directly from TransGlobal's declining empire. Daniel sat in their new downtown office, reviewing the latest acquisition report. Marcus Wheeler's largest client had just signed with Logitech, citing TransGlobal's deteriorating service quality. The irony wasn't lost on him. The same beach house that had hosted his wife's affair was now probably hosting Marcus's panic attacks about losing clients. His phone buzzed with a message from Catherine. "Danny, please call me. I didn't understand what Natalie was really like. The girls miss you. Families should stick together." Daniel drafted a short reply. "Understanding seems to come easier with success. Please don't contact me again." A knock at his door interrupted his thoughts. Olivia entered, carrying fresh coffee and a stack of research papers. "Our latest user interface study results are in. The adaptive learning algorithms are showing a 98% satisfaction rate. Better than expected." Daniel accepted the coffee, their fingers brushing briefly. "Your research on corporate psychology transformed our system." The system was already brilliant, Olivia said, settling into what had become her usual chair. "I just helped make it more human." She paused, studying him. "I saw Catherine's message on your phone. Old habits dying hard," Daniel said. "Success makes people reconsider their choices. Does it make you reconsider yours?" Daniel met her gaze. "Every choice I've made since the divorce has led me here. I wouldn't change any of them." They worked late again, reviewing implementation strategies for their newest clients. The office gradually emptied, leaving them alone with the city lights spread out below. "Move in with me," Daniel said quietly, watching Olivia analyze data flows. "You practically live at my apartment anyway, between late nights and weekend sessions." "Make it official." Olivia looked up, her expression serious. "Are you sure? We've never really talked about." "I'm sure." Daniel met her gaze steadily. "You've never tried to change me or demanded I become something I'm not. You challenge me to be better while accepting who I am. That's worth more than all the yachts and country club memberships in the world." A slow smile spread across Olivia's face. "In that case, yes. But we're getting a bigger apartment. Your current one is 90% white bards." 93%, Daniel corrected, drawing her close. Melissa measured. The next day, reviewing client contracts in their sunlit office, Daniel felt a peace he hadn't known in years. On his desk, next to implementation schedules and market analyses, sat a small photo of him with Olivia and Melissa at a tech conference. Real smiles, real achievements, real relationships built on mutual respect rather than social climbing. Glenn's latest report arrived that afternoon. TransGlobal's stock had dropped another 12%. Richard's cost-cutting measures were backfiring spectacularly, and major shareholders were asking uncomfortable questions. Several board members had reached out quietly about Logitech services. Daniel filed the report carefully away. The foundation was built, the pieces in place. Success wasn't about revenge anymore, it was about building something better than what he'd lost. The fact that each new client they took from TransGlobal pushed Richard Whittaker closer to the abyss was just a satisfying bonus. 8 years after the divorce that stripped him of everything, Daniel Conway stood in Logitech's executive suite, watching TransGlobal's stock price crater on the digital display. Another 12% drop in a single day, bringing the total collapse to 48% in 6 months. Richard Whittaker's modernization strategy had finally imploded. Glenn's weekly security report lay open on his desk, detailing TransGlobal's systematic collapse. Maintenance schedules stretched beyond safety limits, experienced staff replaced with undertrained temps, quality controls bypassed for quick profits. The empire Richard had gutted for short-term gains was crumbling under its own rot. "Mr. Conway?" His assistant's voice came through the intercom. "Marcus Wheeler's called 3 times this morning. He says it's urgent regarding the Johnson Manufacturing account." "I'm sure it is," Daniel replied smoothly. Johnson Manufacturing represented 30% of TransGlobal's East Coast revenue, the division Marcus had protected so zealously during the divorce. Melissa burst into his office, tablet in hand, her usual energy amplified by triumph. "Johnson Manufacturing just signed with us. Full contract, no negotiations. They're dumping TransGlobal completely." "Marcus must be thrilled," Daniel remarked dryly. "Any other good news?" "Better than good." Melissa pulled up a series of graphs. 5 more major clients are reviewing their contracts with TransGlobal. Richard's cost-cutting finally hit their breaking point. 3 shipments lost last week, 2 major safety violations, and their new automated system, if you can call it, that has a 90% error rate. Olivia entered with a thick research report. After 6 years together, they'd perfected their professional personal balance. At work, she was Dr. Blake, Logitech's chief research officer. At home, she was simply Olivia, the woman who'd helped him build something better than revenge. "My team finished analyzing TransGlobal's employee turnover data," she announced. 80% of their experienced staff left in the past 3 years. Richard replaced them with temp workers at a third of the salary. "And how's that working out for them?" "Their efficiency ratings are lower than when they used paper ledgers," Olivia replied, setting the report on his desk. "But that's not even the best part. Check their social media presence." Daniel opened his laptop, pulling up the familiar feeds. Natalie's Instagram, once a parade of luxury vacations and designer shopping sprees, had transformed dramatically. Gone were the yacht parties and private jet selfies. Her recent posts featured vague, inspirational quotes overlaid on sunset backgrounds. "True wealth lies within," and "sometimes life's greatest storms bring us where we need to be." "How philosophical," Olivia observed. "Amazing how inner peace becomes attractive when the credit cards stop working." A notification popped up: Lucy's latest attempt at influencer fame. His older daughter had posted a desperate pitch for a questionable diet tea. The post had garnered exactly 12 likes, down from the thousands she used to command when Richard's money funded her lifestyle. Emily's LinkedIn profile showed similar desperation. His younger daughter had at least finished college, but her dreams of walking into a C-suite position through Richard's connections had evaporated. Her work history showed a string of increasingly modest positions, each shorter than the last. Their trust fund was mostly TransGlobal stock, Melissa noted, scanning financial reports. Currently worth less than recycling material. Richard's been quietly selling his personal shares for months. The rats always know when to flee the ship. Daniel's phone buzzed another message from Catherine. His sister's attempts at reconciliation had increased with each drop in TransGlobal's stock price. "Danny, please," her voicemail pleaded. "The girls need you. Everything Richard promised, it was all lies. Their trust fund, their futures, you're their father." Daniel deleted the message without reply. On his desk, another report demanded attention. Logan Financial Group, one of TransGlobal's largest shareholders, was interested in discussing Logitech services. "Set up the meeting," he instructed Melissa, "and have legal prepare acquisition documents. When TransGlobal declares bankruptcy, I want first position on their assets." Already done. Melissa's efficiency was legendary. Glenn sent over their complete internal audit. "It's worse than we imagined. Richard's been falsifying reports to shareholders for years. Send everything to the SE," Daniel decided. "Anonymously, through our usual channels. Let's ensure this implosion is thorough." Rain lashed against Logitech's windows on a gray Tuesday morning. Daniel reviewed quarterly projections while Olivia analyzed user interface data from their latest software update. Their comfortable routine was interrupted by his assistant's urgent call. "Mr. Conway? Natalie Warren is here. With your daughters." Daniel met Olivia's eyes. They discussed this possibility, knowing Richard's downfall would eventually lead to this moment. "Send them up." His voice betrayed nothing. They arrived looking like faded photographs of their former selves. Natalie's designer outfit, probably from the height of her affair days, showed subtle signs of wear. The twins, now 24, had lost their social media glossiness. Lucy's expensive makeup couldn't hide her stress, while Emily's business casual attire seemed chosen to project a competence she hadn't earned. "Daniel." Natalie's attempt at her old sophistication fell flat. "You're looking successful." 8 years does that. He remained seated behind his desk, Olivia a quiet presence beside him. "Why are you here?" "Daddy." Lucy stepped forward, tears already forming. Her practice performance hadn't improved with age. "We've changed. We miss you." "Richard." Emily spoke more hesitantly, genuine discomfort in her voice. "He lied about everything. The trust fund, his promises about our futures. He left us with nothing but debts," Natalie cut in. "The house is being foreclosed. His creditors are calling constantly. We need help." Daniel's voice could have frozen hell. "Like the help you gave during the divorce? Or the help you offered when you testified about my emotional unavailability?" "We were stupid kids," Emily said softly. "We thought money meant everything. And now that the money's gone, you've discovered family values?" Olivia's quiet observation made them flinch. Lucy tried another angle. "Uncle Richard the first mean. Richard, he manipulated us. Made us think." "No." Daniel's single word cut through her performance. "Richard didn't make you do anything. You chose luxury over loyalty. You decided your father's love was worth less than a yacht and a spring break in Paris. We've changed," Lucy insisted, tears flowing freely now. "Please, Daddy. We need you." "Need me?" Daniel stood slowly. 8 years ago, you taught me an invaluable lesson about character and worth. Today, I'm teaching one about consequences and respect." He pressed the intercom. "Security, please escort these visitors out." "Daniel, please." Natalie's desperation cracked her polished facade. "Where are we supposed to go?" "That's not my concern." He turned to the window, dismissed them entirely. "I suggest starting with minimum wage jobs. I hear character building begins at the bottom." After security led them out, Daniel remained at the window, watching the rain. Olivia's hand found his, understanding in her silence. "You know what's ironic?" he finally said. "I used to worry about providing them the best of everything. Private school, extracurricular activities, summer camps. Now they'll learn what I knew at their age. Success comes from work, not handouts." "They'll be better for it," Olivia agreed. "Though I doubt they see that yet." Daniel turned from the window, taking in his office. His CEO plaque sat beside Olivia's framed research papers and their shared patents. Real achievements built on mutual respect and genuine partnership. "I have a meeting with the board at 2, he said, checking his schedule. "We should discuss the Logitech Foundation." Olivia smiled, understanding his direction. "Scholarships for students from single-parent homes? Focusing on technology degrees." Daniel pulled up a draft proposal. "Let's create opportunities for people who understand the value of work." The next month passed in a blur of triumph and justice. TransGlobal declared bankruptcy, their stock worthless. Logitech acquired their assets at a fraction of their value. Glenwyn, Daniel's one loyal friend from the old days, became regional director. Reports filtered in about the aftermath. Emily found work as a retail associate, learning humility between folding sweaters. Lucy's influencer dreams collapsed entirely, forcing her to start over as a waitress. Natalie, stripped of her social status, landed a receptionist position at a small firm. Richard Whitaker, the Harvard MBA who'd stolen Daniel's family with promises of luxury, faced SEC investigations and shareholder lawsuits. His golden parachute had dissolved with TransGlobal's stock. Through it all, Daniel and Olivia planned their wedding, a small affair focused on genuine connections rather than social display. No yachts, no country clubs, just real relationships and earned success. Sometimes, Olivia said one evening, reviewing scholarship applications, the best revenge is simply building something better than what you lost. Daniel looked at their shared life, the partnership built on mutual respect, the company revolutionizing an industry, the foundation creating opportunities for others. It was never about revenge, he realized. It was about proving them wrong about what matters. The epilogue wrote itself in decisions and consequences. While his former family learned hard lessons about self-reliance, Daniel and Olivia expanded their scholarship program. Each success story from a scholarship recipient felt like vindication of their values. The final poetic justice came in small moments. Natalie learning to make her own coffee instead of ordering assistants around. Lucy discovering that Instagram followers couldn't pay bills. Emily understanding that real success required more than connections. Daniel and Olivia celebrated not with luxury purchases, but by increasing their foundation's endowment. They turned past pain into future opportunities, proving that true success came from character, not currency. In the end, the greatest victory wasn't in watching his betrayers fall, but in building something meaningful from the ashes of their betrayal. The Logitech Foundation would outlast any revenge, creating ripples of opportunity long after the pain that spawned it had faded into history. Epilogue. A decade later. 10 years after that rainy day in his office, Daniel Conway stood at Logitech's newly expanded headquarters, now occupying the entire building where TransGlobal's offices once dominated the skyline. The company had grown beyond even his ambitious visions, revolutionizing not just logistics but entire supply chain management systems globally. Inside his office, photographs told the story of the past decade. His wedding to Olivia, an intimate ceremony in a botanical garden, with only genuine friends present. Melissa served as their witness, making sarcastic comments about finally making their nerd partnership official. The reception featured academic discussions about psychology and technology rather than social climbing. The Logitech Foundation's first graduation ceremony held particular pride of placed 20 students from single-parent homes receiving their technology degrees, their faces bright with earned achievement. That program had grown to support over 200 students annually, creating a new generation of innovators who understood the value of hard work. Glenn Wynn, now Logitech's Global Operations Director, had transformed their acquired TransGlobal assets into models of efficiency. He took particular satisfaction in implementing the very systems Richard had once dismissed as unnecessary complications. News about his former family arrived sporadically, each update confirming the wisdom of his decisions. Natalie's fall had been particularly steep. After her receptionist position, she had cycled through increasingly modest jobs, her lack of practical skills and entitled attitude making it difficult to maintain employment. Her last known position was as a part-time filing clerk in a small law firm, the same one that had handled her divorce from Richard. The irony wasn't lost on anyone. Richard Whittaker's descent proved even more dramatic. The SEC investigation into TransGlobal's collapse revealed years of fraudulent reporting and misappropriated funds. His Harvard MBA couldn't save him from federal charges. He served 3 years in a minimum security prison, emerging without his fortune, connections, or the arrogance that had once defined him. Now he taught basic business classes at a community college, his cautionary tale serving as his only remaining asset. The twins had taken different paths through their hardships. Emily, after 2 years in retail, had finally embraced genuine hard work. She returned to school, paying her own way through a teaching degree, and now worked with underprivileged children. The experience of losing everything had transformed her into someone who understood the value of character over currency. Lucy's journey proved longer and harder. Her attempts to maintain her influencer lifestyle led to increasingly desperate choices, including a brief, disastrous marriage to an aging real estate developer who proved to be as bankrupt as her former stepfather. Rock bottom came in the form of a viral video showing her berating a barista over an incorrectly made latte. Her Karen moment, as social media dubbed it, finally shattered her carefully curated online persona. Catherine's attempts at reconciliation continued sporadically, usually coinciding with her need for business connections or social advancement. Each message went unanswered, each holiday card returned unopened. The sister who had chosen social climbing over family loyalty remained firmly in the past. Marcus Wheeler's career never recovered from Transglobal's collapse. His attempts to join Logitech through back channels met with polite but firm rejections. The beach house where Natalie's affair had begun was sold to cover his debts. He now worked as a mid-level manager at a regional shipping company, his dreams of executive status as dead as his friendship with Daniel. Melissa had remained a cornerstone of Logitech's success, her brilliant coding and brutal honesty helping drive the company's innovation. She turned down numerous offers from Silicon Valley, stating that building something real beats creating another app for sharing cat photos. Her partnership with Olivia in developing user-friendly interfaces had created a new standard in enterprise software design. Olivia's research on corporate psychology had earned her international recognition. The Blake model of adaptive organizational systems was now taught in business schools including, deliciously, at Harvard Business School, where Richard once boasted of his MBA. She split her time between Logitech and guest lecturing, helping shape a new generation of business leaders who understood that true success came from building people up rather than climbing over them. Daniel and Olivia's relationship deepened with each passing year, their partnership proving that professional success and personal happiness could coexist when built on mutual respect and shared values. They traveled extensively, not to show off on social media like Natalie once did, but to meet with foundation scholars and explore new ideas for expanding their impact. The Logitech Foundation had become their legacy, transforming lives beyond mere business success. Each year, they received letters from scholarship recipients sharing their achievements. Startups launched, innovations created, communities improved. These stories meant more than any revenge could have provided. One morning, reviewing applications for the next round of scholarships, Daniel found a familiar name. Lucy's daughter, Angela, now being raised by a single mother working as a waitress. The application was honest about their circumstances and demonstrated a genuine understanding of hard work's value. After careful consideration, Daniel approved the scholarship. Not out of sentimentality or forgiveness, but because the foundation's mission was to help those who understood the price of success. Angela would never know her grandfather had ensured she would have the chance to earn, not be given a better future. The final irony came when Harvard Business School invited Daniel to give a guest lecture on ethical business leadership. Standing at the podium where Richard had once learned his shallow lessons about success, Daniel shared the real secret of achieving greatness: character, commitment, and the courage to build something meaningful from life's hardest moments. In the end, the greatest victory wasn't the fall of those who had betrayed him, but the rise of something better from the ashes of that betrayal. Logitech, the foundation, his marriage to Olivia all stood as testaments to the truth that real success comes not from what you take, but from what you build. The wheel of karma had turned full circle, teaching lessons about character and consequences that no amount of money could buy. In the quiet moments between triumphs, Daniel and Olivia would sometimes reflect on how destruction had led to creation, and how the best revenge truly was living well not for spite, but for the sake of building something worthwhile.
This is where our story comes to an end. Share your thoughts in the comment section. Thanks for your time. If you enjoy the story, please subscribe to this channel. Click on the video you see on the screen, and I will see you there.